Good morning, my name is Michael Hobbs and I have with me today Waltenegus Dargie. Walter, welcome.
Thank you.
Walter, tell us a little about yourself.
I am an associate professor of computer networks and work at the Dresden University of Technology. In my spare time, I enjoy reading books mainly of classical nature and long-distance running, half marathon.
Walter, you've written a book called The Reason for Life, where you analyze the philosophies of Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, Fyodor Dostoevsky and Leo Tolstoy. This is an unusual endeavor for a professor of computer networks. What motivated you to write this book?
I have been motivated both by personal and professional interests. Personally, I have admired these four people for many years. My interest in the theories and models of Einstein dated back to my college years. As part of my electrical engineering curriculum, I was required to attend some physics courses. I remember how apprehensive I had been when I first attended a lecture on Einstein, because I thought his models were too complex to grasp. But I was surprised to find that they were remarkably comprehensible and intuitive. Since then, I began paying attention not only to his technical works, but also to his philosophical writings. Likewise, I started to be interested in Freud when I was a second-year student in college, visiting lectures on developmental psychology. I found his explanations about human psychosexual development and human psyche insightful and interesting. Professionally, every day I meet young science and engineering students with whom I discuss various issues, including the meaning and purpose of human life. Through the years, I came to realize that many of these students wish to know the philosophies of Einstein and Freud more closely. One of the reasons being the famous dispute a century ago between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr on issues surrounding quantum physics. Unfortunately, many also find the philosophical writings of Einstein and Freud inaccessible to them because they are elaborate and complex. Some even find them boring. So I decided to write a book about the life philosophies of Albert Einstein and Sigmund Freud in a way which is readable but at the same time faithful to the core ideas of these people.
Walter, few would naturally group these four men together. What was special about them as a group that made you want to analyze their views?
My interest was first in the philosophies of Einstein and Freud, but anyone who is familiar in the philosophies of these two soon realized the extent to which they had been influenced by the philosophies and ideas of Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. Einstein once declared that Dostoevsky gave him more than any scientist, more than Gauss. To appreciate the significance of this statement, it suffices to say that without the prior foundation established by Gauss and some of his students, notably Riemann, it would have been impossible for Einstein to develop his general relativity theory. Freud too ranked the Brothers Karamazov, a book written by Dostoevsky, alongside the works of Shakespeare. Tolstoy likewise had influenced both Einstein and Freud. The non-resistance philosophy to which Einstein subscribed for nearly 3 decades was partly due to the influence of Tolstoy.
You've divided the book into 3 parts: the significance of God, the purpose of human life, and the significance of the Bible. Why did you divide it in this way?
The quartet has written extensively about these subjects. I thought it is natural to begin the book by first addressing questions pertaining to the origin of life, before I address questions pertaining to the purpose of human life. The third part was important because in addressing the first 2 parts, all of them, without exception, considered it important to examine the claims of the Bible. In other words, they regard the Bible as a credible historical, philosophical, psychological, and literary evidence. Indeed, Freud and Tolstoy went to the extent of rewriting part of the Bible in order to establish what they alleged some of the original accounts of the Bible, which, according to them, were removed from and added to the Bible by biblical writers and editors.
Before we talk about the individual parts of your book, let's take a short break. Welcome back. Walter, let's start by considering the first part of your book. What do your subjects believe about God as the origin of life and his interest in creation?
Except for Freud, who believed that existence is an accidental phenomenon, all the others attributed existence to God. Einstein strongly argued that the extreme care by which things are organized in the universe, the higher mathematics required to comprehend even a very small fraction of it, and the discipline, mental strain, and the hard work needed to comprehend the laws of nature all suggest that there is design behind the universe. But when it comes to the person of God, the three theists do not agree. Einstein believed that God is impersonal. The laws he put in place to govern the universe are perfect in that they are complete, so there is no need for God to interfere in his creation. Tolstoy believed in a personal God, but argued that God has given human beings the necessary faculties to know and do his will. So he rejected the idea of divine interference in the form of miracles and prophecies. Dostoevsky believed that the greatest miracle in creation is human freedom, without which love would have been impossible. He also argued that love finds meaning in a relationship, which is why he believed that God, being love and the source of love, is personal and is interested in human beings. Therefore, he accepted the biblical description of God and his relationship with human beings.
What did they think about the purpose of human life?
If we begin with Freud, Freud's belief about the purpose of human life is essentially Epicurean. There is a strong similarity between his understanding of human life and that of Lucretius, for example. He argued that instead of asking a philosophical question, it's useful to closely examine what human beings practically seek and attain in life. According to Freud, human beings wish to be happy and to remain so. He identifies happiness as the pursuit of pleasure or the avoidance of pain. He also identifies two basic instincts, the gratification of which is vital for human happiness. These are the instinct of sex and the instinct of aggression. According to Freud, these two instincts oppose each other. The first strives to perpetuate life indefinitely, while the second strives to destroy it. What we consider normal is when the demands of these two instincts is maintained at equilibrium. Einstein maintained that human life does not have any particular purpose, inasmuch as the universe has no particular purpose. He regards the notion of purpose as illusion and prejudice. He argued that in the same way the behavior of corporal objects, their motion and rest, is determined by infinite causes and effects, human behavior and actions, including their thoughts and emotions, are determined by infinite causes and effects. In other words, human beings do not have free will. Interestingly, he admitted, indeed regarded as imperative, the idea of human freedom. He identifies three types of freedoms to make existence meaningful. These are freedom from self, freedom from the demands of everyday life, and freedom of intellectual independence. Tolstoy believed that the purpose of human life is the pursuit of perfection in all spheres of human activities. He found perfection in Jesus Christ and his Sermon on the Mount. Hence, according to Tolstoy, human beings should strive to absorb the Sermon on the Mount in their everyday life in order to fulfill the will of God. Dostoevsky believed that the purpose of human life is to be united with God in love. He accepted the biblical claim that sin has separated human beings from God, and that they need the redemption power of Jesus in order for them to be reunited with God.
You made the Bible the focus of your third part. Why, and what do your subjects believe about the significance of the Bible for modern society?
As I already mentioned, in their search for answers to the origin and purpose of human life, all of them, without exception, turned to the Bible. Freud turned to the Bible when the persecution of Jews in Europe during the Second World War was at its peak, and his own existence was in danger. Einstein, even though he rejected the claims that the Bible is divinely inspired, found superpersonal values in the Bible. Indeed, he places people such as Moses and Jesus above all scientists, claiming that humanity has every reason to place the proclaimers of high moral standard and values above the discoverers of objective truth. Tolstoy discovered in the Bible Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount. Dostoevsky found inspiration in the Bible for all his great novels and attempted to demonstrate the scope and usefulness of the Bible by creating characters which resemble or starkly contradict biblical characters. But Freud and Tolstoy accused biblical writers and editors for deliberately modifying and distorting original accounts. Both attempted to reproduce what they thought were the original accounts of the Bible. Freud attempted to reproduce the first 5 books of the Torah, the Pentateuch, by psychoanalyzing the person of Moses and the Israelites in order to reestablish, according to him, the authentic account as regards how the Israelites left ancient Egypt and conquered Canaan and came to strive as a sovereign nation. Tolstoy too attempted to rewrite and harmonize the gospel.
So you're saying that Freud and Tolstoy tried to rewrite the Bible? Do you think they were successful?
Not really. Both of them produced books which are today regarded by many scholars, including their biographers, historically unfounded, inconsistent, and full of speculations. Mind you, both of them had access to the best research articles and books one could get hold of, to some of the brightest, widely read philosophers, historians, and anthropologists of their time. And despite spending several years of on their book projects, were still unable to produce a better account.
So Walter, can you summarize for us the most important contributions of your book?
Einstein and Tolstoy disagreed with the Bible on some points, yet when it comes to the highest goal towards which human beings should aspire, the answers they gave agrees with the central message of the Bible, which is to love God and to love one's neighbor as oneself. Tolstoy closed his autobiography with an interesting testimony. At the time when he was desperately searching for the meaning of life, he had been multiple times struggling with the idea of committing suicide. He came to the conclusion that through rational analysis alone, he would never be able to discover the meaning of life. At the same time, he mistrusted all other avenues by which he could get satisfactory and sustainable answer to his question. During this time, he had a dream. In this dream, he is hanging on a mat which is sustained in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, he realizes that the mat is beginning to fall apart, and Tolstoy is about to plunge into an abyss, and he is terrified. In his struggle to maintain his balance and save himself, he upsets the mat and his fall becomes imminent. At that moment, there comes a voice from heaven asking Tolstoy to look upward. and not downward, and to trust. Having no other option left, Tolstoy obeys. At that instance, the mat somehow remains steadily hanging, and Tolstoy begins to appreciate the beauty and wonder of heaven. Then the voice reminds him for the second time to keep looking upward and to keep trusting. It was after this dream that he converted to Christianity. The dream suggests divine interference and divine revelation, both of which Tolstoy afterwards rejected when he tried to harmonize the four Gospels by removing all miracle stories from his book.
Walter, you've given us some challenging things to think about. I look forward to reading more about this in your book. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you.